Hi. I know you're surprised, right? Where's her disguise? This is it. This is the real me. This is my voice. This is my face. I've been thinking about doing this video for many weeks. And I finally decided to go ahead and come out as myself. So why did I finally do this? Well, a couple of different reasons. One of the biggest reasons was because I started this channel to empower women who were in my same position, which is someone coming out of a high control group my whole life. And I felt like every time I made a video that I wasn't really being true to you all as my viewers, and I wasn't being true to myself. I was still living in fear because I was afraid of the consequences. Consequences obviously are going to be possible disfellowshipment because I am talking out against witnesses. And the reason that I'm talking out against Jehovah's Witnesses, it's not against Jehovah's Witnesses as people. I have been accused by family members of only talking out against Jehovah's Witnesses as a group or a religion. And the only reason that I don't want to say targeted, but I guess that's the word that was used, was targeted Jehovah's Witnesses, is because that's who I have experience with. I have not had experience with Scientology or Mormons or any of the other high control groups or religions. I've only had experience my whole life with Jehovah's Witnesses. So I can only speak from that experience. Is it very similar to the rest of those high control groups? Absolutely. If you watch any shows on Scientology, Leah Remini's got the greatest show, obviously, because she was a Scientologist, right? So she's got a great series on Scientology. You will be amazed at how closely they're structured to witnesses. They practice the same, I can't remember what they called it. It's not just fellowshipping. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's the same thing. And what's interesting is, as a witness, when you watch it, you go, oh my goodness, how could you ever be part of such an awful group? But if you really look at it side by side, you will realize it's very, very close. Very similar. So I'm not targeting Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not speaking out against people that are Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, they are some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted people that I know. And if they weren't taught to shun other people that didn't believe the way they believed, they would be an absolutely wonderful group to be in. My problem is that they are taught and indoctrinated since birth, I was, how to treat people who decide that they can't follow it anymore. And that's not loving. So that's the only problem that I have with Jehovah's Witnesses as people, as members. And I just want to make that perfectly clear. I'm not here to bash witnesses. And I said that in my first video. And if I do that, call me out. Because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help you figure out what to do next. Where to go next. Just like I had to do. And maybe it'll help some people, and maybe I won't be that kind of help for others. And that's okay. I mean, there's lots of YouTubers out there that are doing the same thing, and you might resonate with others. I started the channel to kind of reach out to women, because I know that we've gone through a lot of issues that the men have not, but that doesn't mean that I am not interested in having a male audience as well. I know I do have a male audience, so I'm just going to be here sharing with you what I've been through and how I'm dealing with it. So, I was asked by some family members why I'm hiding. Because they watched all my videos. I was a little bit shocked at that, to be honest. I'm not going to say which family members. I don't want to rat them out. Because we all know what happens when you get in trouble for watching apostate. That's a discussion in itself. We all know that doesn't exist. But that's what they call us if we don't follow the exact same path and rules they do. So they asked me why am I hiding? And I said, well, I really don't want to be disfellowshipped, to be honest. I can't say that I'm afraid of being disfellowshipped, but I really wanted to be able to be a part of my grandchildren's life as much as possible. And this family member said, well, it doesn't matter if you're disfellowshipped or not. You can still talk to your family. Now, if they're watching, and I misquoted that a little bit, I didn't write it down, so maybe it came out a little differently than my mind remembers. However, that was the gist of it. And I'm asking my viewers to please put some comments below and tell me and my family or anyone else who's watching this what really happens when you're disfellowshipped. I think that they're lightening up a little bit now. I think that they know that they have to because of the lawsuits. But we who've been in it for decades know what has happened and the horrible mistreatment. So please, below, share your story. Even if it's just a little bit of it, of being disfellowshipped and the pain associated with it. Because for some reason, not everybody realizes that, and I think the newer generation coming in does not realize what us as an older generation in it have experienced. And the lawsuits, like I said, are starting to keep them from doing that as much. I think from disfellowshipping as much. I know there's a precedent that's been set making disfellowshipping illegal in different countries. So it's probably coming to the United States eventually. But anyway, if you would drop comments below about that. But I've been through so much ever since coming out and just telling my truth. That's all I'm telling is my truth. That's all I'm telling is what I've found and what I've researched. I'm not trying to embellish it. I'm not trying to throw anything in there to convince anybody not to do something that they truly believe in. I hope that everybody does do what they truly believe in. But in doing that, I've lost 90% of my family that are witnesses. I've lost my mom, who's 80 years old and entering in stages of dementia. My daughter, who took my grandson away. I can't see him. I was extremely close with him. We were extremely connected. He's almost 5, and he's autistic, and he has a beautiful brain, a beautiful mind. And I know he wonders where I went to, and it makes me sad, and it hurts. My family, a lot of them, my extended family, in-laws from my late husband, they didn't say goodbye. They didn't reach out and ask me how I was doing. They didn't even reach out and ask me if what they heard, you know, is this true? They just shunned me. They just blocked me on social media, deleted me, turned their back on me. I even reached out to one of my cousin's wives and said, "Hey, what did I do? You've deleted me on social media, and you know your children and their mates have blocked me. What? I mean, did I do something? This is like months ago." No answer. Reached out to my cousin in a text. It's his wife that did that. Asked, "Did I do something?" No answer. I mean, don't you all find that a little odd? You remove somebody from your life that's been in your life forever. You don't reach out and ask why. You don't offer something to them. Hey, can I help you? Are you okay? Has something happened? Unfortunately, that's indoctrination. That's indoctrination, and it's in the form of numbing your human compassion for others. Because if I was walking down a street and I saw somebody hurting or crying or sad for whatever reason, I would sit down with them and say, "Are you okay?" I don't care if I know them or not. It doesn't really matter. Why? Because I'm a human being. And that's human compassion. We were born with that. Somehow, this has been removed from this organization. It's a very black and white picture. Do it or die. There's no middle ground. There's no in between. And even if you can show them why, it doesn't matter. Usually they'll cut you off and say, "I don't want to hear this anymore." I've even had family saying, "I'm afraid that I'm going to believe you if you keep talking to me about it." Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but we're humans and we're allowed to know the truth about things. I'm certainly not out there teaching anything evil or telling anyone anything awful. I'm not that kind of person. I know they had lately a video, I think they've had a couple of them actually, on jw.org about shunning. I think they introduced him at the convention, I'm not sure. The mom who refuses to answer the phone. The daughter keeps calling, and she just ignores it. I mean, I'm sorry. How is that your religion? Bible says, Jesus said, "You will know my disciples if you have love among yourselves." He didn't say, but if you don't follow the governing body, who didn't exist then, or if you don't follow, he didn't even say, if you don't follow me, really. He didn't say that I wouldn't love you. He didn't say that. Where did he say he wouldn't love you? He didn't. But he said that love would be among his disciples. Love. Love is love is love. Which means when you have a child, you pick up the phone when they call. I don't care if they decided to leave the organization or not. You pick up the phone when they call. And this is the propaganda video that's out there for them. Don't do it. Don't pick up that phone. That girl could have been dying on the side of the road, and she would have died, and the mom would have said, "Oh, well, I did what I was supposed to do." That's not love. I mean, I'm, sometimes I get at a loss for words. Another big reason for me that I woke up. I think the very start of it for me was a lot of the hypocrisy that I saw. The pedophilia. It was a lot of pretty sad cases that I had read about and watched some documentaries on. I'm sure you've read those too and watched those too. And the answers are always the same from the organization. Let Jehovah take care of it. Let Jehovah take care of it. So, here's what that sounds like to me. It sounds like one of my children suffering, okay, and crying out for me, Mom, help me. Help me, I'm being hurt, I'm sad, or I'm stuck, or please help me. And me saying, I got other things to do, wait on Jehovah to do it, he'll help you eventually, I've got my life coaching classes I'm going through, and I've got different things that I want to do, and I'm really busy. I'm sorry that you are screaming out because somebody's hurting you really bad. But I don't have time for this. I'll take care of it, though, in my due time, okay? I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. What kind of a mother would I be? Really? Really, what kind of a mother would that make me? I would think a pretty crappy mother. Goes for dads, too. That's pretty crappy. I gotta say, my son is the most wonderful father. He's a lot like his father was. My first husband that passed away, I told you all about. And he's a wonderful dad. Everything's about his girls. And it just makes me smile and feel so good to watch him with them. If my little granddaughter, either one of them, cried out, Daddy, Daddy, help me, I cannot imagine my son looking at them and saying, I'll take care of it when I'm ready. I know you're hurting, but I'm busy over here. No, I can't even fathom that. And the worst part to me is that what he's busy with, Jehovah is busy with, okay, is the buildings that he has to make sure they're built, and making sure there's enough propaganda material out there. And now they're building this new, whatever it is, a video studio, whatever, to go online, which I have my thoughts about that too. I'll do that in another video. But that's what they're busy doing. How many times have you heard, I know I have, in decade after decade after decade at conventions or whatever, of stories where, and I think one of the most recent that I remember was that they needed some kind of sand or fillers to fill in this beach. I don't even know. Not fill in a beach, to fill in like an area where they were building a media center or some kind of building in another country. I could have the story totally wrong because I really don't follow it as close as I used to. But they went all over asking all these tribe members for sand. Can we have sand? Can we have sand? No, don't have enough, Can't give you any sand. So they prayed and they prayed, and before you knew it, a big old storm blew in and dumped all the sand in these different villages. to the point where I guess, like, trucks and cars couldn't get through or whatever. And so here's all these tribe members, leaders calling up the witnesses now going, hey, come and get all this sand out of here. If you can take it away, you can have it. And then you have the brother going on the camera saying, look what we were provided. But yeah, that storm killed people. It killed people. Devastated houses. It took houses away from people. And a lot of people died. But they got their sand for their building. So these are the kind of things that my mind could not, I couldn't accept. That a loving God would, at the expense of human lives and human suffering, dump a bunch of sand onto a beach so that they could come and get it and build something with it. I'm sorry, but no. I just can't, I can't believe that. And those stories are, there's too many of them. There's just so many of them, I can't even think of them all. Another thing that I think really always bothered me, but really started to bother me when I started to wake up, was the blood transfusion issue. I had a hard time with it my whole life, but being indoctrinated as I was just always afraid of what would happen if I took blood or gave it to anyone else, because of what I was taught, what I was told. I told you all my first husband passed away, and he bled to death, is what happened. And as I was in the hospital, as you can only imagine, I'm 39 years old at this point. I have two children that are 11 and 13, or 14, 11 and 14, and I don't know what I'm going to do if I lose him. I don't know at this point. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I remember there came a moment in my mind where I gave in. And I said, I'm not going to let him die. I don't care. I don't care what the consequences are. I'm not going to let my husband die. I'm going to do what it takes to save him. It didn't come to that because of the circumstances. He would not have been saved regardless by blood transfusion or not. It was just too bad of a situation. But I punished myself for that for years. I punished myself for wanting my husband to live. And one day I realized that I'm punishing myself for being human. I'm punishing myself for loving him. I'm punishing myself for feeling like I wanted to save a life. And I knew that wasn't okay, deep inside. Then there were other things that came up. Found out that the Watchtower organization joined the United Nations. Now, for people that have not been in this organization very long, young people, you all have no clue, if you're watching this and you're young, what has been said for decades about the United Nations being Satan. Decades. They wrote books on it. Whole books in the organization on the United Nations. Which, by the way, a lot of books are being... the witnesses have been told to destroy all the old books. That's come out too. Get rid of all that old stuff because it's not what they're teaching anymore. So now they have to destroy those books, but decades and decades, it was Satan who ruled the UN. But they joined it, and they joined it for 9 years. And I brought this up to a family member who said, oh well, they must have had a reason. Huh, they must have had a reason. They must have had a reason. So, we're not allowed to vote as witnesses. We're not allowed to get involved in anything political. Not allowed to get into anything that would maybe save the environment. Any of that. It's all frowned upon. In fact, I do believe that if you vote, I think that's a disfellowshipping offense if my memory serves me correctly. I'm not 100% on that, but I believe it is. So can't do that, but they can join the United Nations, and they have to agree to the United Nations rules and charter. And if you read it, you really should. They agreed to it. The only reason that they stopped is because a newspaper article came out and busted them. And then they stopped. Immediately, they withdrew. I wrote to the United Nations, and I asked for proof that they were actually even in it, because I wanted proof, and they sent me a link to a letter. I can put that below if you're interested. The letter that they wrote back to them when they decided to withdraw. And they said, yes, they definitely were in the United Nations. I know I didn't make this up. But when I brought that up to someone, it was, oh, well, they must have had a reason. So when is it going to be not okay? You know, it's kind of like, I used to have all kinds of issues that I worked really hard to get over. One of them was I self-medicated a lot. I drank a lot to get through things. I'm not ashamed to say it now. I was ashamed back then. But I worked really, really hard to rewire my brain to be happy without self-medicating, without drinking. But if every single time I drank and my family got upset with me, and they should have, quite frankly, I was in the wrong. And some of the things that I did and said, definitely in the wrong. If I would have always looked at him and said, oh, well, I have a good reason, how well would that have gone over? I'm guessing not very well. Nor should it have. Take responsibility for what you do. Watchtower organization, come out and say, we shouldn't have joined the UN. We told everybody that it was Satan's organization, and we joined it anyway. Never have they come out and said we're sorry. It doesn't happen. It just keeps getting shoved under the rug. So, another big reason why I just could not be a part of that anymore. Something else that I found that was very disturbing to me. And I'm just telling you little things. Okay, I'm not going to get into every single reason. But I'm making this video to kind of give you a general kind of picture of where I've been. And again, I know I kind of brought it up in my first video, but I feel like because I'm really coming out as myself now, I really kind of just want to tell a story as me and tell you a little bit more about where I've come from and why, how I got here. On their website, and I'm going to put the link below to the video that I'm referring to. They used a video on their website from a guy named Massimo Introvigne. And he is like a 3 or 4 minute video. And you can watch it. And he spoke good things about them. And that's why they used it, of course. But I'm going to read to you, when I did a little research on Mr. Massimo Introvigne, I'm going to read to you who he is, okay? I'm not going to read to you everything he does because it's too long, but I'm just going to read this one paragraph. And I'll let you decide what you think of him. He was the Italian director of the Transylvanian Society of Dracula, which included the leading academic scholars in the field of the literary and historical study of the vampire myth. In 1997, J. Gordon Melton and Introvigne, this Massimo Introvigne, organized an event at the Westin Hotel in Los Angeles for 1,500 attendees, came dressed as vampires for creative writing contests, gothic rock music, and theatrical performances. This is the guy that they said, ooh, he's got something good to say about witnesses, so we're going to use Mr. Vampire Director. And that's okay. But if we do anything that they don't like, what do they say? Oh, she must have gone on the satanic side because it's not in the rules. Not what she's supposed to be doing, or he's supposed to be doing. But they can do it. As long as it benefits Watchtower, they're going to do it. And the rules don't apply. And the thing is, most people aren't going to research things like this. Most people aren't. I happen to. I actually heard it from someone else first, and then I researched it. So, I thought it was par for the course for the things that they do, but it is quite shocking when you really think about it. Something else that really, I think caused me to really wake up. I think the very first thing that I remember really hurting deeply is when I saw the video of Tony Morris in that liquor store. And the guy that was in there taking the video incognito, well, he wasn't showing himself, but he was showing Tony Morris in there, which we know is one of the governing body. And he was buying expensive, I don't know, scotch or something. I think he drinks. I'm not sure. I'm not a drinker, so I don't know. Really expensive stuff, though. And a lot of it. The cart, from what he bought, added up to, I think it was like $1,000 almost of liquor that he loaded into his car. 30 miles away from Bethel. He had to pass 3 or 4 liquor stores or more in between that to get to this liquor store so he wouldn't be seen, which, guess what? Karma. He was seen anyway. Now he's on video. I had just recently, before that, worked, like I told you, very, very hard to get out of the dark place that I was in. I was in a dark place for years with alcohol, and it got progressively worse, to the point where I became to be suicidal. I was very depressed. I couldn't figure out why. I kept drinking, thinking it was just going to dull the pain. I didn't know where the pain was coming from. Honestly, I didn't. I just know that I always felt bad about myself. I was never good enough. Now I know where it came from. But I couldn't see it then. Now I know it's come from my whole life of being indoctrinated that I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to do enough for the organization. And I know that a lot of us have struggled even more. And I know that there's been numerous people who have committed suicide and didn't make it that far. Which is sad and makes me feel sick. But I was able to get out of it. I was able to dig myself out of this dark hole I was in. And it was hard. It was a habit. I was addicted to it emotionally, not physically. I had no withdrawals. I didn't feel sick when I stopped. In fact, I felt wonderful when I stopped. And it was such a struggle to stop. And seeing this video of him in the liquor store going on and on and on about all this liquor that's great that him and his wife like to drink, and he had a whole cart of it, okay? No, I can't prove that he didn't buy it for 20 people. Sure. Do I think he did? No. If he did, he bought it for his buddies. But I can't imagine that anybody's going to go in there and buy $1,000 worth of liquor for their buddies, but maybe he did. But rumor has it that we all know what the rumor is about Toni Morrison is drinking. Again, can't prove it, so I'm not on here to make accusations that I can't prove, but I'm only telling you how it affected me. When I saw that video, I was very hurt. I felt sick. I cried. I sat and cried and cried and cried and said, why? It's taken me so long. It's been so hard. It's been such a struggle for me to wake up. And I'm watching Toni Morris fill his cart with expensive liquor. It hurt. It truly hurt. So that was one thing. Hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of it all. Then, Geoffrey Jackson, of course, on the Australian Royal Commission, under oath, lying several times. He lied several times. I know that the videos are on YouTube, I believe, but the transcript itself is on the Australian Royal Commission official website, which I will put the link below. And I personally printed out the transcript, which is an official court transcript, and I watched the video with the court transcript in my hands while reading it, and it is word for word. There's no doctoring of these videos. Okay, so I would advise you to do that if you think that maybe a video might be doctored, because we all know people do that. I mean, you know, to make things look worse, but I've already done it, and what I saw and read, it was absolutely 100% truth. The biggest thing to me that he said in the video that really punched me in the face, I think, was when they asked him, are you the channel? Are you and these men, these 8 men, the channel? God's only channel. How many articles? I can find multiple articles and put links below if you want me to. Or I can do it in another video. I could do a whole video on that. On them saying, we are the channel of God. We are the channel. I specifically remember watching, I can't remember his name, Loesch. Loesch on one of the videos saying, well, Jehovah and Jesus trust us. Shouldn't you? I'm sorry, where does it say that in the Bible? Where does it say Jehovah God and Jesus trust these 8 men who didn't exist back then? Shouldn't you? Little mind manipulation there, isn't it? I'd say so. So, after him lying and saying that would be real, actually I believe his exact words, quite presumptuous of us to say that we are the God's only channel. Okay. So he's saying no, we're not. He also went on and on to talk about the fact that we can do these things, like what I'm doing here, what Jake did, Jake Kreitz on Altworldly. You can get on there and you can talk about these things, and you won't be disfellowshipped. Well, Jake's disfellowshipped. And Lloyd Evans is disfellowshipped. And Mike and Kimmy are disfellowshipped. Barbara Anderson's disfellowshipped. Yep. Ray Franz got disfellowshipped. Why? Because we came out with the truth. And the thing is, if you have the truth, what are you worried about? The organization says they have the truth, and they know they have the truth. Well, why are they going after these people that say they don't? What is it to them? If they're God's only true channel and group, then let other people be. Why would you go after them? Just fellowship them and take their entire family away from them. Because the reason is that when you finally wake up to reality and you start seeing things for what they really are, it's not really hard to wake up. It's really not hard when other people say, hey, this is what I found out, like some of the things I just told you, and they look at it, and most people with their own thinking abilities will say, yeah, that's not okay. Now, by continuing to say, oh, but there must be a reason, or oh, we'll wait on Jehovah, well, okay. That's an excuse, but okay. I'm not going to tell you not to, or tell you any different. I just know what I found is the truth of the matter, not the actual truth. I don't believe there is an actual truth. I don't believe that any religion is an actual truth. We were born as human beings with a brain, and we're all allowed to use our brain. And there's nowhere that it says that we can't. And even if it does say somewhere that you cannot use your own thinking and you have to follow someone else, there's something wrong with that. Because no one should be forced into thinking like someone else, first of all. Especially when, and I have done this, asked several elders in this organization. Several. Including my stepdad, who's been an elder forever. Cannot give me answers. That's enough for me. There are no answers to my questions, which are, show me in the Bible where it says that these 8 men should be trusted. Back up Loesch's comment on, well, Jehovah and Jesus trust us, shouldn't you? Back that up. Where? Show me. There isn't any. The rhetorical question asked, who really is a faithful and discreet slave? It's a question. It's a rhetorical question. Where after that did he say, well, this is who's going to come in the future to be that slave? He didn't. And if anyone reads their history, after the last apostles died, Constantine came in with all the big leaders. Look that up in history books. And they dissected the original writings of what's known as the Bible today. And they decided to put fear-mongering in there. Heaven, hell, you know, all kinds of condemnation. And they've changed a lot of things. And it's not the true original Bible. No one has that. And everyone should know that no one has that, the original. It's been changed multiple times. Each Bible has its own skew, you know, on it, based on what they believe and that religion. The New World Translation gets updated every time I get onto the app. It gets updated. How can you update the Bible? That's another thing that really threw me, was the Bible continues to be updated. And these other books continue to be updated and obsolete and new lights coming in. Well, that means the old light was a lie. The Bible says God can't lie. Why would a God tell everyone something and then later on go, never mind, new light? He's not capable of that. It's not possible for him to lie. He didn't lie to any of the prophets that are talked about in the Bible. So, you know, the more I looked into it, the less it made sense. You know, Russell's teachings are where it kind of started, because I had a lot of old Russell and Rutherford's books from my grandparents, and it's light years different from what they teach now. 130 years of new light, because the first Armageddon was supposed to come in 1914. Then it was 1935, or no, 1925, 1935, 1975. You know, it's been that way since the religion started, and it's always been new light. If you go back to some of the old literature, which, like I said, is you're not supposed to even read that anymore. But the old literature says that millions now living will never die. Okay, that was back in the 30s, I think. Millions now living will never die. Well, they're dead. They're all dead. And this generation will by no means pass away. Well, it passed away. And then it went into, you know, this overlapping generations where, well, if you know somebody who knew somebody who, you know, was born in 1940. I mean, you know, first it was 1914, if you were old enough to remember 1914, if you were an adult, then, you know, you're never going to die. Then it was, well, if you were a kid. Then it was, well, if you were born in 1914 or after. Now it's, well, if you know somebody who you know, was born in 1914, who knew somebody. I mean, I don't even understand this overlapping generations, to be honest. That's the only way that they can keep this going, is to constantly reinvent this, the 1914 date. Otherwise, they'd have to change it. And that's been their core belief since the very beginning. So, anyway, I got off on a little tangent. This is kind of a long video. I actually didn't plan on making a long video, but it seems like when I kind of go off script and add my own things in, I do kind of get that way. And I just want to say that something that got me thinking, I watched a video the other day, and it was kind of interesting. It was about living in the Matrix. I'm not even going to get into that yet, because that's all kinds of other teachings. But The guy brought up a really good point, and what he said was, where did we learn our information from? Okay, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about in general, right? Like, where did we learn anything from as a human being? Well, we learned from our parents and school and whatever religion we were brought up in, and we take that as gospel pretty much when they tell us things. Okay, that's, you know, where did they learn it from? Well, they learned it from their parents and school and their religion, and they learned it from their parents and school and religion, and so on. Information has been passed down for centuries, right? Were any of us there? Nope. Nope. None of us were there. And that really hit home with me. That at the end of the day, we are responsible for who we are inside. We are responsible to love each other, to take care of this beautiful planet that we are on, to help each other, to make the world a better place. That's what we're here for. And when I learned in my own mind that I'm okay being that way, everything changed. I never felt an inner peace before. My whole life, even when I was a little girl, I never felt inner peace. I only felt fear and extreme anxiety, always. I always had to live up to a certain expectation that I didn't really know how to fill. It wasn't really who I was, but I kept doing it because everybody expected it of me, because I came from 4 generations, and it was all I knew. But inside, I always just wanted to be kind to people and love people and help the planet, and that's what I wanted. So I'm much happier now doing that. I'm much calmer. My husband says he's noticed a huge difference in me, and I've noticed a difference in myself. I don't blame people for things. I just ask that they're truthful about things with themselves, instead of saying, oh well, it's going to get taken care of, or oh well, the organization says it's going to get better. How about just, I'm a human being and I have a brain, and maybe I should do a little research. You don't have to talk to me about it. You don't have to talk to anybody about it. But if you have the truth and you're sure of that, nothing's going to shake that. So all you have to do is research things and see if they make sense. And if they don't make sense, don't waste your whole life trying to make them make sense. That's what I did. I tried to make them make sense. So, anyway, just wanted to let you all know I'm still alive, and this is who I really am. And I totally intend on coming out now with just me videos, might pop on and just tell you the kind of day I'm having and what's going on. I am finishing up my life coaching course at the end of the week. I have 3 full days of live events the next 3 days, and then I'll be certified. And I'm putting together a program right now for mainly for high control group or cult members that struggle to find what to do next, or where to go, or how to pretty much deprogram themselves from all of the fears and the anxiety that comes with it. I've learned a lot in this course, and I really feel like I'll be able to help a lot of, I'm kind of reaching out more to women to get to a much better place, not just to survive, which I know that some people are even hanging on just to survive, but to be happy, to have inner peace, and to wake up every single morning and just be happy because you're here. Because that's how I feel. I meditate a lot, and I journal, and I read a lot, and I do daily affirmations. One of the things that I say, and I'll tell you really quick, and then I'll close up because it's been almost an hour. It's my longest video. I actually daily tell myself that I'm safe. Especially if I'm really overwhelmed and I get upset about something. I am safe. And just those little words, those 3 little words are very helpful. And the reason why it's even necessary is because I've been reading a lot of Bonnie Zeman's books, which I'm going to be integrating into my coaching when I put my programs together. And she talks about the fact that when you are isolated from your family and friends, like the witnesses do to you, and Scientology and some of the other high control groups, that you go into survival mode. Because we are programmed in our brains to have a safe space and survive. We're programmed to, we want to survive, life and whatever situation that we're put in. And taking your support group away from you, especially if you knew nothing else, which a lot of us didn't, it literally puts us into such a panic that we all of a sudden feel sort of naked, if you will, and we need to know we're safe. And we need to know we're okay. That's normal. That is normal. It's sad. It's sad that we have to do that and go through that, but it's normal. So those 3 little words, I am safe, or I am okay. If you're having struggles with panic attacks, anxiety, sometimes you'll have nightmares after coming out. I do. Not very often, but I do. And when I wake up, I tell myself, it's okay, I'm safe. Just be in the now. Look around. See where you're at. And calm yourself down. And it helps. So I'm hoping to be able to provide a lot of information later on too, as I go about my coaching program and whatever, to help you all on the channel to learn different techniques and different ways to get through all this, and not just get through it, but be happy and thrive. Because I am. It took a long time. It took my whole life, but I'm just happy to wake up. I'm happy when I go outside and feed my birds and just whatever. And I want you all to get to that place too. So, anyhow, My name is Lori. Maritsa is where my grandfather is from, in Greece. That's his village. And Chairo means joy in Greek. The opposite of joy in Greek is fear, interestingly enough. So I love the word Chairo. And so my name is Lori, and my pseudo name is still Maritsa Chairo, and I actually like that name. I really do. And so I probably won't change my channel name for a while. I think I'll just leave it the way it is for right now, and hopefully it's helped you to see that I really wanted you to know who I am, and I plan to continue to make videos, and I do hope they're helpful. And so you all have a great day, and I will see you on the next video.